at me. But the fact is that the island of Sicily have been invaded numerous times. The Normans, the Vikings, the Arabs had invaded and conquered and oppressed the people. So we in America today are facing a problem. We don't feel, Giovanni, that we have a government that really is on our side. Many of us fear the government itself. We certainly doubt the president. Let's be very clear. When you see even Russia is now doing what this guy faked doing for 2 years, what do you think about that? Do you think Obama's really fighting them?
You know, they got a big responsibility in there, but they're lacking a lot of things. They're lacking a lot of things, and they need to really step up on the plate. They really need to step up on the plate because things are getting very, very serious. And
let me ask you something. I noticed in your answer that it's a kind of a hesitant answer in a way, and that's interesting. Are you able to tell us on this radio program today, is the government going to look the other way and let you do this? Can you say anything about that on this show?
Not at all. Not at all. We need to unite together, and if we do unite together, we can make a difference in the world. We need to unite together. Everybody's playing their part. You know, the feds are playing their part, the CIAs are playing their parts, the government's playing their parts, but they got to look at this as streetwise. Some guy just puts a bomb on him and blows himself up. They got to intervene before the fact. Now, in order to intervene before the fact, they need evidence. And by the time they gather evidence, it's too late.
Yeah, of course, with due process. We know that. And so you guys are going to go and do it your old way.
Like I said, the old-timers, you know, back in the days when everybody was a monoculture in the neighborhoods and Sicilians drinking coffees outside and everybody knew everybody, it was easier. It was easier. But, you know, it's not that we're not, you know, I'm not going to do anything if I hear some guy is up to no good.
Giovanni, will the government intervene to stop you guys if they hear about it? What if they're wiretapping you and they hear you're going to do it? Would they actually look the other way, or they'll intervene and arrest you before they arrest ISIS? That's what my real concern is here.
I'll break a few legs. I'll break an arm or two. You know, I mean, listen, you have to do certain things, you know, for the good of the world to protect yourself, because I got kids. I got two daughters. I got a son. You know, and you got to look after things. No matter what, if you got to go down, you got to go down as a good man. That's what my father taught me. My father would call me from prison. He would say, John, listen, send $100 to whatever. Send another $100 to the earthquake victim. Send another $100 to the flooding victim. I mean, he would call. You know, he had goodness in him. You know, so we have to. If we have to go down in this world, we have to go down in a good way. You know, knowing we're doing good, not bad.
Interesting. What is the name of your book again? Now I want to get a copy of it myself. What's the name of it?
The Vindicators. You could get it in Amazon, Barnes and Noble, but if you want, I could give you a nice signed copy and send it to you if you want.
I would. I'll trade you Government Zero for the Vindicators if you will exchange addresses and whatever. Well, look, all I can say is this is the most interesting story I have come upon since these subhumans appeared on the planet. Unless we all join together and use every means necessary, I have terrible fears that they're going to continue to gain territory and do more horrible things, and we certainly don't want them on our soil. They've already done enough damage around the world.
We need to stand up together. Good.
Stay on the line, Mr. Gambino. We're going to send you the book, and I'm going to get a copy of your book. I want a signed copy. And anytime you're in San Francisco, make sure that I know about it so I can take you to the worst Italian food in America. And I'm just joking. There's some pretty good places. Thank you very much for being with us on the Savage Nation. Time is 46 minutes after the hour. This is a very serious topic. There's probably no more serious topic that we're going to talk about on radio than how do we protect ourselves when the government doesn't seem to be doing the job. But, you know, I learned a few things from the interview that in a certain way was reassuring. I'll tell you about it when I come back. Phone number here is 855-400-7282. 400-7282. If you care to comment on Giovanni Gambino's appearance on the program, which I think set a new record in talk radio for excitement. I'll be back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust to protect my wealth. Call 800-BUY-CO. It is a crazy, crazy world that we live in. And boy, oh boy, do we have a real problem on our hands. When many in America are now cheering an ex-KGB strongman, Putin, because of this smoker in the White House, the man who continues to deny the existence of ISIS. Basically, fobs them off. They're nothing. Nothing to him. Does you go about your normal business? Don't worry about it. And we're worried. So now you got strange bedfellows all of a sudden. That's what the interview was about. And he said certain things that were quite interesting. He was basically talking about in his neighborhood, in their neighborhood. If they see anyone, they'll certainly take care of business. But what about in your neighborhood? What about in a lily-white suburban neighborhood when most of you, if you saw someone who looked suspicious, your instincts would tell you that that person doesn't belong there, but you know what'll happen. Oh, you're a racist, you're a thisist, this, profiling. The cops know who they are. The cops could tell you faster than you could who might be the troublemaker, but they can't say anything. They've been intimidated by the community organizer. So it's like a perfect storm now in America. The worst terrorists in history, there's no words for what they do to people. No, there's no words for it. Then you got the psychosis of the liberal who says that speaking nastily about somebody is worse than what they do. Then you got the press in the pocket of the government. Then you got very brave men and women in these agencies, FBI, CIA, DHS. They're in there. They see what's going on. They know who they are. And all they can do is have them under surveillance. When you and I both know they should be dragged out by their filthy scarves and thrown into a deep cell. And you know what? Throw their lawyers in there with them. Strange times, aren't they? That's what most of you are feeling. You know it's not going to happen. You know that. So we do go about our business. We buy our turkeys. We buy our stuffing. We make the recipes. I stand on street corners and talk to people from the Italian Athletica Club and ask him what his favorite sauce is and how do you make it. He actually gave me a good recipe. He says his mother made the best sauce, but may rest in peace. No, my mother never made this sauce because she wasn't Italian. Well, she made good fish, she made good chicken, good brisket. But everyone's mother is no longer here, the ones who cook like that. It's a different world. The fathers aren't here, the mothers aren't here, the common sense is not here. Oh, it remains here and there. But Obama knows that the common sense is gone. It's been drugged out of society. It's been beaten out of society. But it does exist. As you just heard in that interview, it still exists here and there. You know, militias, they have common sense. Oh, yeah, you haven't read about them, have you? They're on the border right now with Mexico, making sure that no Syrians are coming over the border. They're out there, too, the militias. We all need to stand up, or we're all going to fall down together. It's that simple. When you have a government that is not out of control, but it doesn't even know, you don't even know where it is. What'd you think of the interview? Rosario, we have 30 seconds. Fire away.
I love the interview. I thought that was especially what is needed during these times. It's just amazing that even the police have been hindered by doing their duty to protect us. This president, whose duty is to protect us, and he's not doing that. He's doing everything.
That's what most Americans think, exactly the way you spoke, Rosario. And you know I'm sending you a Thanksgiving gift, Government Zero. You are. In the next hour, we'll talk more about this. And then I'll tell you about the ethnic groups I grew up with and how everyone sort of got along until the organizer came along.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Earlier this week, as I headed to this region, there was a headline in one of our publications back home that asked, Obama's Asian distraction, ? And the premise seemed to be that this region was somehow disconnected from pressing global events. I could not disagree more. This region is not a distraction from the world's central challenges, like terrorism. The Asia-Pacific is absolutely critical to promoting security, prosperity, and human dignity around the world. That's why I've devoted so much of my foreign policy to...
Double talker, just an empty, hollow force. Just empty. Nothing but a booming voice, nothing there. Obama's approach to fighting ISIS, compare that with Russia. It took the U.S. 15 months to even begin targeting ISIS's oil refineries and tankers, while airstrikes by Russia destroyed more than 1,000 tankers in a period of just 5 days. But worse than that, the angry smoker in the White House, had the Air Force leaflet the oil trucks, giving them a 45-minute warning before bombing the trucks. I had this on the show last week. Here's what the leaflet said of your commander-in-chief. You couldn't make this stuff up. It's impossible. Get out of your trucks now and run away from them. Warning, airstrikes are coming. Oil trucks will be destroyed. Get away from your oil trucks immediately. Do not risk your life. That's what the U.S. dropped on ISIS oil trucks before the bombs were dropped. Moscow didn't drop such leaflets. They just dropped the bombs and knocked out 1,000 oil trucks in a period of 5 days. The great commander-in-chief, he didn't do anything for 15 months. Then he dropped leaflets. And by the way, we only took out 116 tanker trucks. 116. So which side is he on? Well, it's a stupid question. U.S. pilots have also confirmed that they have been ordered not to drop 75% of their ordnance on ISIS targets because they couldn't get clearance from the Girl Scouts who run the military from video games deep in the bowels of the White House. 12 months, the Girl Scouts were busy attacking Republicans. 12 months, Obama's Girl Scouts were busy attacking any American who stood up to him instead of ISIS. They have targets in front of them. The men are not planes. And they're told 3/4 of the time you can't drop the bombs because the Girl Scouts were busy attacking American Republicans instead. That's the world we're in. So is it any wonder that the people are turning in the most unusual places for a sense of security? So we had Giovanni Gambino on in the last hour, if he just joined us. And I think he spoke very clearly in a way about it. He wasn't going to spell it out. I mean, the guy isn't a regular guy, you know. He wasn't going to spell out what they were going to do. But I think he made it clear that if anyone appears in their neighborhoods, they're not going to drop any bombs in the coffee shop. So the rest of us now wonder what we're supposed to do. Because we know what they look like. Oh, I know you're not supposed to. They're supposed to be deaf, dumb, and blind. I get it. Under Obama, you're supposed to be deaf, dumb, and blind to who the bomber looks like. You hear? Oh, you're not supposed to know. No, they come from all walks of life. Yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, right. That's racial profiling, yeah. That's religious profiling, yeah, right. Turn your head, you morons, you. You let this moron talk to you. You walk around, you're dead. You're dead, man. You're walking dead listening to this moron. He certainly does racial profiling, doesn't he? Doesn't Al Sharpton specialize in racial profiling, attacking white cops? Don't tell me they don't use profiling. Their enemies are very clear to them, aren't they? Anyway, the point is that bombs went off in Paris. Not only did they machine gun these boys and girls who were simply at a dance, the reports came out that these monsters tortured the ones who were laying there dying, cut them up and mutilated them. Did you know that? I know it's a pretty horrible thing to tell you, but you know, this is not the Disneyland show. They mutilated the bodies as they lay dying. You have sympathy for them? You want me to have sympathy for people like that? I hope you don't have sympathy for them. Because my mother used to say, you really need to have your head examined. The problem is, who's going to do the examining? Usually the ones doing the examining need more of an examination than you do. But that we all know is a fact of life. That's because they go in that business because they're so screwed up. And I'm not knocking it. It's a tough field. Who would go into that field unless they're worried that they were crazy? They figure if they read 1,000 books on a subject of madness, they could cure themselves. Maybe some of them do. I don't know. But we're not here to talk about psychiatry nor to make fun of people in our country or in that field. I'm talking about that interview. What did you think about that interview on the radio show that you are listening to? You know it was original. You know nobody in radio did it or is going to do it. They don't know how to do it. They